Can ECU pull off the upset at home against BYU? This is a team that started the year with a little bit of a disappointment, but it's a team that's playing with a ton of confidence. And with the rest of their conference schedule remaining, this is going to be a team that expects to make a run at a conference title. And we talked about this coming into the season. This could be a team that scares a lot of people, and that includes the non-conference slate. NC State got, I wouldn't say lucky, but ECU had the ball late in the game, driving in opposing territory, and then ultimately came up short on a 4th down. NC State was kind of lucky to get out of that one, and ECU obviously was very disappointed, refocused to win 56-3 over Campbell and 38-0 at Coastal Carolina. BYU is a different test. This is a 2-0 team that's going to give this team quite a bit of trouble in terms of physicality. But so far, this is an ECU defense that has shown it can handle keeping teams in check. I would say that NC State had some players that could scare ECU, but they held those guys relatively in check for most of the game. So I trust that this is a group that can take care of business, that can make things interesting, maybe longer than we expected. And this is a big one because I think this builds momentum for conference play. And I think this gives you a really good chance of feeling good about the first couple of games that you'll play. You start with Army. Army is going to give you a different look than you've seen from anybody else. It's also going to be a physical matchup. So in a way, BYU gets you focused for that physicality, for that type of game, and playing against that triple option offense is going to test your defense quite a bit. Then you go to Tulane. That's another team that's going to be physical. So this 3-game stretch is going to give you plenty of challenges and plenty of opportunities to show that your team is ready for the opportunity in front of them. They are going to be able to show that, hey, we can handle this kind of stuff. We can handle this type of offense. We can handle this type of team. And ECU in the past, I think, has struggled maybe with some of this physicality and maybe doesn't have or hasn't had the guys up front to handle this type of test. This was a great opportunity because BYU is 2-0. We don't know a ton about this team. There's a new quarterback, and this is a secondary in ECU that can make life miserable for Bear Bachmeier. It's a young guy playing on the road in what should be a pretty good environment, if you ask me. I think this is a group that could be really good and have a big game against a young quarterback. That's going to help you negate some of that physicality. Tackling LJ Martin isn't going to be fun, but it's also going to set your group up for success when you face Army and Tulane. And then once you get towards the end of the season, if you can handle those tests, you're going to be able to take care of business when the times get tough. And this is a conference that's pretty wide open right now. Outside of, USF and Tulane are probably at the top right now, but overall, I don't think anybody's giving anybody the title just yet. This is a team that has an opportunity to show the entire conference what they can do. And it really starts with that defense. The defense is going to set the tone for this game, and it's also going to set the tone for when they get into those conference games. And if they're able to play with a good amount of physicality and handle that, they should be just fine against those next 2 opponents after BYU. The offense also has to do its part, and I think that ECU can put a lot of stress on BYU if they're going to pull off an upset. I think that they have to put a lot of stress on BYU's offense to put up points, and that all starts with Caden Hauser. And this is a guy who is playing pretty well so far. He's been relatively consistent. He has plenty of talent. You have Anthony Smith, you have Yannick Smith. Those are plenty of opportunities or players downfield that you can find, and you can put stress on a defense that also is going through a little bit of turnover in BYU. So this is a great opportunity for this team to make a statement, and Hauser is going to play a role in that. You saw him at times struggle against NC State, but after that, he kind of dialed it in and really found or hit his stride. And it helps, again, with the amount of talent that he has at the wide receiver and tight end position. This is an offense that can do some damage against BYU. NC State, he threw for 366 yards and 1 touchdown. Then he plays Campbell, 314 yards and 2 touchdowns. Coastal Carolina, nearly 300 yards with 2 touchdowns as well. This is a guy who appears to be hitting his stride at the right time. And this is exactly what you need if you're ECU. You need your quarterback to play at a high level because, again, This is a defense that if they're playing the right way and they can handle the physicality and their offense is putting up points, BYU's in trouble. And again, that's where you get your fan base involved. And that's a stadium that can get pretty loud, that can get pretty excited. And that's going to help as well. This team has the ability to potentially pull off this upset, but there are things they need to do. If they do not handle the physicality well, LJ Martin's just going to run right all over them. And if Caden Hauser in this offense can't move the ball down the field, that's going to be a problem too, because there's not going to be any pressure on BYU to pick up their pace. You really want them to do that. That's not really a team that's going to want to go at lightning speed. And if ECU can do that and they can be efficient, this is going to put a lot of pressure on the visiting team to match that pace. And we know which team is better equipped to handle that. This is going to be a challenge though. BYU has athletes. They have guys up front that are going to make things a little bit more difficult because of that physicality, because of the size that they present. And ECU doesn't have the biggest front by any means, but they have the athletes to handle life in the trenches, to either give your defense a breather and get them off the field, or to give Caden Hauser time to throw the football. The trenches should be just fine, but you have to limit how much havoc this BYU team ultimately wreaks in your offense. You just don't know what you're going to get. And like I said, it's early in the season, so we're not entirely sure what BYU is yet. We kind of have an idea what ECU is, but this is a good test to give us another measuring stick for the Pirates and our first true measuring stick, our first true test for BYU. Now, is an upset likely? Not really, but I also have seen this ECU team surprise us before. That being said, the line is close to 7. I believe it's 6.5 as I'm recording this right now. So this is definitely an opportunity for ECU to pull off an upset and show that, hey, we're not worried just about the conference. We can handle our non-conference slate. We can handle beating teams like BYU that play maybe a little different style of football than we do, but we can play that and we can be adaptable. And that's going to help because this conference in the American has a number of different styles that you're going to have to face. Army's going to run that triple option. FAU is going to spread you out and try to throw the ball over the field. You have a wide range of teams you have to be ready for. And right now, I think the physical teams are the ones that ECU needs the most practice with. They need to be able to show that, hey, we can win the line of scrimmage. We can win the battles in the trenches, be disruptive on defense, and gash opposing defenses for big gains. And it starts with Hauser. It starts with the guys up front, but this is a group that has what it takes to be able to make that happen. You had a good core coming back in 2025. You brought in some key pieces via the transfer portal, and this is why you were exactly ready for these types of games. You came up short against NC State, and you're going to have a little bit of a different challenge in BYU. I don't think Bear Bachmeier is on the level of CJ Bailey, and that bodes well for a team that's looking to pull off an upset. It's a young guy who's trying to learn how to play on the road, and this is a team that has the talent, that has the tools to be able to make that happen, to make his life miserable and pull off an upset that would be huge for a team that's looking for momentum heading into the rest of the season.